Hello. In this video, we're going to look at Photoshop layering strategies. Some of the strategies and ideas that we'll look at specifically are creating layers, labeling them, duplicating layers, free transforming, changing the size of things within a layer, using the zoom tool to zoom in and out, free transforming or changing the size of images with symmetry and proportion so that the vertical and the horizontal sizing stays the same. We call that proportional. Changing object size using the regular eraser tool and the magic eraser tool. Rotating images, also done with the free transform command. Turning layers on and off to see what we have, assess the situation. And other things that are likely to come up in the beginning, middle, and end of this tutorial. Let's begin. Okay, let's get started. For this layering activity, we're going to use Photoshop. We're going to move at a pretty good pace. You can always review the video again if you missed something. We're going to use Photoshop, and we're going to use a post here I made a few years back to demonstrate layering activities, and it has the components of a pizza. So we're going to make a pizza in this exercise. These images were taken from different places on the web, posted here for no reason other than to do a demonstration like this for educational purposes. So these are the pieces we're going to use to make a pizza. So let's begin. You notice we're in Photoshop right now and we have the option to create a new file. We're not going to do that yet. We're actually going to I'm going to go to the web page where I have these images, and I'm going to click on them one at a time to get them in their biggest form. So I'm going to right click on this and go to Open Image in New Tab. And here it gives it to me pretty big. If I click on it once, if I have the option to, I'll click on it and make it larger and then hit Copy Image. I'm going to go to Photoshop, and now when I hit Create New in Photoshop, Photoshop will recognize that I have something on my clipboard, and I can either double click it or make sure it's selected and hit Create. Photoshop creates this size canvas or document, and if I hit Command V, we can see that it was a canvas created specifically for this wood or this wooden table we're going to use it as. The next step is to begin to label the layers, and this will come in very handy as we move through this exercise or any exercise that has multiple layers. So you can see I have the background layer, which is the original canvas, and then I have the table or the wood that I pasted in. I'm going to just do a fast double click on where it says layer 1, and I'm going to label this wood table. Get it all out of caps here. Wood table. Okay, so we have our wood table. Over here we have the zoom tool. Worth looking at this, so we will be using this throughout the exercise. Down here it looks like a magnifying glass. You can activate it by touching the Z key on your keyboard, or you can click this icon in the left toolbar. When you use the zoom tool, you'll notice it has a plus in the center of the magnifying glass, and if you click, you'll be able to zoom in. If you hold the Option or Alt key, you'll notice the plus changes to a minus, and we can zoom out. I'm going to work from right about here, which just tells me it's about 50%, at least right now in this exercise. All right, let's keep going. The next thing I'll do is to get the pizza pan. I'll do the same step. I'll right click on it and go to Open Image in New Tab. Click on it. I have the option to make it a little bigger, so I'll click on it again, right click, I'll copy the image. I'll go into Photoshop, making sure I'm on the wood table over here in the layers. I'll hit Command V, like violin, to paste the pie plate or the pizza plate in. The next thing we'll do is look at the eraser tools. If we go over here in the toolbar, we see something that looks like maybe an eraser, and it has a couple stars to the left of it. If you right-click on that, you'll see 3 different erasers: the eraser tool, the background eraser tool, and the magic eraser tool. We're going to look at the irregular eraser, the top eraser, and the magic eraser. Let's select the eraser tool first. Here you can see it comes up much like a paintbrush tip would, and we can change the size of that by touching the bracket keys to the left of the P key, and we can make it smaller or larger. If we drag it through the plate, it will erase it. If we hit Command Z, we can step backward from that. If we hold the Shift key and erase, we'll get a perfectly straight line. If you notice, there's kind of like a ripple on that erase. If I hold my Shift key and just go through it a couple times, that ripple will go away. Let's try it again. So I'll hold Shift, go through it once, and then just go through it a couple times, and you can clean up those ripples by going through it a couple times. But that's how the regular eraser works, a lot like a paintbrush does. Let's step backward and right-click on those eraser tools again. This time we'll choose the magic eraser tool. 1 or 2 things to note about the eraser tool or the magic eraser tool, both of them in this case. It has kind of this, like I said, looks like an eraser with some stars above it maybe. There are 2 different brush tips for the magic eraser tool. The one you see here and one that looks a little bit more like a crosshair. It's more precise erasing. And we get that tip by touching the caps lock key. And now you can see that we still have the magic eraser. We just have a little more precise tip. I'm going to work with that. And you get that again by touching the caps lock key, which gives you this more precise kind of crosshairs target tip for the magic eraser tool. Before we begin using it, we need to go up here and take a look at tolerance. Tolerance is how strong the magic eraser will work. So we'll notice it's at 50 now. Let's just hit it at 75, and we'll kind of work our way down to see what tolerance really is. And I'll use the magic eraser tool. What we want to do is we want to just isolate the plate and get rid of this white around the edge. So I'll click the magic eraser tool here, and what we see here is not what we wanted. We see that much of the plate has disappeared, telling us that our tolerance is too high. I'll hit Command Z to step backward, and I'll scale this tolerance down. I'll go from 75 to 65 and try it again. A little bit better. I still have some of the plate, but still too strong. Command Z, I'll bring the tolerance down to 55. In increments of 10, I click. I have more of the plate visible, but not quite what I'm looking for. I'll keep going down. Here's 45. Not there yet. Command Z. 35. Getting better, but still erasing too much of the plate. 25 is getting better. Before we go down any further, sometimes it's very difficult to isolate an image, especially like this, because you'll notice the plate itself has shades of white in it, particularly over here where it hits this white outer edge. It may prove very difficult, if not impossible, to really isolate the plate from this background. Let's find out. Let's bring the tolerance down to 15. We're getting better, and we can see the area that we thought might have problems does. But let's keep going down. There's 15. I'll go to 10. Okay, it's better over here now, but now we have a little bit of problem over here. Still some problem. Let's go to a tolerance of 5. And I'm pretty happy with that for what we're working with. A white plate on a white background. Trying to get rid of a background that's so close in color can be difficult. And we did a pretty good job here. It took a number of rounds in that tolerance area, but we finally got something that looks nice. So that's the magic eraser and the regular eraser and tolerance, at least a introduction to it. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to change the size of this plate. We're going to make it a little bit larger so it fits in the table a little bit nicer. And we do that by free transforming. We can activate free transforming by touching the Command and the T key. We'll notice that we get a bounding box around our pizza plate. And when we have that bounding box, we can go to the corners and make the plate larger. That's what I'll do. I'll stretch it out so it fits on the table a little more snug. Once I have it where I want it, I can click the Move tool to accept it, because with these bounding boxes around it, Photoshop isn't certain that we're done with this image yet, and it won't let us move on a lot of times. So we need to get rid of that bounding box. We can hit the Return key or hit the Move key, which will remove the bounding box and allow us to accept the changes. We're now going to go over and label, and we'll do this each step of the way. I'm going to label this plate. All right, so we have our table and our plate. Let's keep going here, and I'm going to close out some of these windows. Back to the original set of images here. I will right-click on the pizza itself, and not allowing me to make it any bigger, so I'll right-click on it, go to Copy Image. Into Photoshop, hit Command V to paste it, and now we'll use the magic eraser again. Let's see what happens. I have a tolerance of 5, and if we click the magic eraser, can you see this white edge down here it didn't quite get rid of? Now we have the opposite issue. Tolerance appears to be too low. We're not getting all the things we want to erased to go away. So with the plate, we were getting too much to go away. Now we're not getting quite enough to go away. So I'm going to step backward. I'll bring that tolerance up to 15. I'll click the outside edge again, and I can still see. I'll use my zoom tool to show you. I can still see a white outer edge here. So I'm going to step backward, Command Z, and get my magic eraser tool. I'm going to bring the tolerance up to 25. Still pretty good, but I can see a white outer edge. I'll hit Command Z. 35, still pretty good. I see a little bit more. Let's try 45. I still see some white. Now we've got a pretty clean erase. I'm going to click my zoom tool, hold the Option or Alt key. Notice it changes to a minus, and zoom out of this. I'm going to label the pizza layer. I'm just going to label it pizza. And I'm going to hit Command T to free transform this and make the pizza larger so it fits in the plate more nicely. I'll hit the Move tool to accept that change and keep on rolling here. I'm going to get this pepperoni. I'm going to open the image in a new tab. It looks like a pretty big image compared to the pizza. Let's see what happens when I paste it in here. I'm going to paste this in. It's larger than what kind of to my eye looks like it should be, but let's edit it first. Let's go over. I'm just going to label it Pep. So I labeled that Pep. I'm going to use my magic eraser tool, and that seems to be a pretty good tolerance of 45. I'm going to hit Command T. I'm going to shrink this up. All right, so now it's a little bit more the size we might expect it to be on a piece, or now it's a little bit more the size we'd expect it to be on a pizza of this size. So if our customer ordered, or if we wanted more pepperoni, I'm just using the Move tool to move it around, we wanted more pepperoni on this pizza, we need to, well, we could go out to the web and bring it in again and edit it, or we can just click on our layer that we labeled Pep and hit Command J and watch what happens. We now have a Pep copy. So I'm going to label Pep copy, Pep 2, and I'll hit Command J again, and I have Pep 2 copy. I'll just keep labeling these, and you might be wondering where they are. Well, if I get my Move tool, we can see they're here. We just need to click on each layer to move it around. There's Pep 3. I'll hit Command J, and I'll label this Pep 4 and see where it is. Now it's right there. Command J and Command J, and I'll keep going. I'm just hitting Command J to make copies of the pepperoni. Command J, and it pastes it right on the other. And I'm not certain I need to label all of these. They are getting a different label after all. They're getting copy 9, 10, 11. So now we have a pepperoni pizza, and notice the number of layers that we have. Thank goodness they're labeled. And the labeling of them and the fact that they're labeled will make this easier to manage going forward. All right, here's some peppers, tomatoes. Let's get the pepper. I'm going to open the image in a new tab, copy the image, go into Photoshop, and paste the pepper. You know what's next. I'll get the magic eraser tool, clean the inside out and the outside out, and maybe I want to put peppers on here like this. They look a little large, so I can hit Command T and free transform them. But sometimes peppers aren't cut this way. I'm going to zoom in. Sometimes they're cut in half. So what I'll do here is I'll take my regular eraser tool, bring my bracket down a little bit, and I'm just going to kind of cut that pepper in half. I'm going to label that layer pepper. And now I might do the same thing as I did. Let me zoom out. Might do the same thing I did with the pepperoni. Hit Command, I'll hit Command J, and I can see a copy of the pepper has been made. And I can bring it over here, and make another copy of it, and bring it over here. But now, because this pepper is kind of a unique shape, unlike the pepperoni, it kind of starts to look like something that's been done in Photoshop. It doesn't look as random as a pizza with peppers might look. So what we can do is this. We can go zoom in, hit Command T on the pepper, and you know that you can free transform the size of something, but you can also go to the outer edge with free transform and rotate it. So now I can rotate it to a different angle, and I can click on the other copy of the pepper and free transform that, and maybe bring that, rotate that to another angle and bring it somewhere else. And I get something that looks a little more random, like a pizza might look. We can go back into the pepper. We could copy it again and Command V to paste it in. Get the magic eraser, clean the inside out and the outside out. And I'm going to label this pepper number 2. That way it has a completely different name, or at least that way it has a different name. I'll get my eraser tool, the regular eraser tool now, and I'll actually erase the other side of it. So I can really change, I'll free transform it, the way these peppers look, and I can hit Command J on that, make another one, and maybe free transform it. And here we have some peppers on the pizza using free transform and the eraser tools to do so. You'll notice that we have all of these layers over here. We have pepperoni layers and pepper layers. This is a good time to talk about the eyeball beside each layer. If we decide we don't want pepperoni on the pizza, we can turn the eyeballs next to all the pepperoni off. And, oops, there was a pepper. One more pepperoni. And get rid of the pepperoni. Maybe we're trying to get rid of one pepperoni in particular, or trying to find a certain object or layer. The eyeball tool, turning layers on and off, is a good way to identify a layer that you're working with. Here, if we wanted to turn the plate off, we could. Turn the pie off, we could. Even turn the table off. All right, so that's how the eyeball worked for adjusting layers. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and I'll hold the space bar. The space bar, when I'm zoomed out, will allow me to move my canvas around. All right, let's keep going. Here's a tomato. This tomato looks like it might pose an interesting issue. Notice the size of our plate, and then our pie, and then a pepperoni. Notice how large this seems. Let's see what happens when we open the image in a new tab, copy the image, and paste the image in. It's pretty big, so we'll need to use the magic eraser tool to get rid of the outside edge and free transform it down. We could add tomatoes just like this in whole form, or we could make a copy of it over here and use the eraser tool to, maybe I'll just cut this in half and free transform it. We could have some half tomatoes on there. I'll label each one. I'll label this whole Tom and half Tom. I can turn them on and off. If I want to copy the whole Tom, I'll make sure I activate that layer and just hit Command J, and I can copy a whole tomato. If I want to copy a half tomato, I can click on the half Tom layer, hit Command J, and I have a half tomato, and I can free transform it so it doesn't look so photoshopped or it looks more realistic. All right, let's keep going. Here's some sausage. I will open that image in a new tab, copy the image, and paste it in. I will use the magic eraser. I may need to adjust tolerance here. And that's a pretty good erase. I do need to adjust the size. Sausage is usually smaller than that. And I can put some sausage on here, and I'll label that whole sausage because that's all of them. And I'll make a copy of whole sausage by hitting Command J and move it off. And now what I'll do is I'll use my eraser tool to get rid of some of those. And I'll just call that partial sausage. And I'll use the move tool to move that. I'll do a Command J of the partial sausage and move one over there, rotate it around, hit the move tool, maybe another copy. Oops. Make sure I'm on the right layer, put some sausage on like that. Maybe I'll do a whole sausage copy, put some sausage over here like this. I could even do a whole sausage copy and then use my eraser tool to, just kind of get rid of, make it look a little bit different. And there's a clump of sausage there. I'll call this sausage 3. It's my third variation on the sausage. I'll hit Command J and make a copy of that over here. And I'm actually going to edit that up a little bit because I see some remnants of my edits from earlier, sausage 3. All right, so now we've staggered the sausage. Again, it doesn't look as if this were photoshopped. Maybe it gives it a more realistic look if we're not just copying and pasting the same thing. We're copying and pasting it. We're erasing parts of it. We're duplicating that. We're rotating it. So we get a very different look for each of the objects we're placing on here, even though they originated from the same. All right. Let's put a couple more items on this pizza. We might not put them all on, but notice that each of these images is from a top view. So when I did a search for these images, I didn't just search for pepperoni or tomato. I actually did the search followed by top view. Let me show you what I mean. I'll go over here to Google, and I'll go actually to Google Images, and I'll just type in tomato. And here I get whole tomatoes, and let me put tomato slice. And I get tomato slices, but notice they're not all, or they wouldn't all be a good fit for what we're doing. We're doing an exercise where we're looking down on the pizza kind of from an airplane view, and we want the top view of things. All right, So just something to keep in mind when we're building out something like this. What angle are you building it from? In this case, we're building it from the top. There's the sausage. Let's try this leaf of spinach. I think this will produce an interesting issue for us. So here we go. I'm going to copy the sausage, or excuse me, the spinach. I'm going to paste it in. And we have a couple things going on here. We have a very big piece of spinach, and we have some of the sausage showing up on top of it. And why? Well, look where the spinach was placed. It was placed in between all of these layers of sausage. So there's a couple ways we could manage this. We could just hold the mouse key, the left mouse button, and drag this to the top. I'll bring it back down where it was, and that gets rid of it, puts it on top. Or we could just simply step backward and go to the top layer before we paste it in. So this is a pretty big leaf. I'm actually going to zoom out when I edit this thing. That'll make it easier. Maybe even zoom out one more level. I'll get my magic eraser tool and erase the spinach. It erased pretty nicely. Now maybe I'll free transform it a little bit smaller. I'll label it spinach. And I'll zoom back in here. I'm going to free transform this spinach. And I'll hit Command J to make a couple more. And you might want to do what we've been doing, make it look a little bit different by getting rid of parts of it. Or we could actually, since we have, let's see, we have some other spinach leaves here, we could open these. Let me get rid of some of these other tabs here. I'll leave Google Images open. Here we can copy that and paste it in. I'll call this Spin version 2, and this is a nice way to really make this look realistic by adding different types of spinach. I'll get rid of this one. Looks kind of like our other ones, and maybe make this a little bit smaller. Click the move tool and we can move that around. We could hit Command J, make a copy of it, spin it around, bring it over here. If we wanted to make that look different, we could erase one of those to get a really different look for it. And now we've got some spinach. If we wanted to move one around, we can find it by clicking the eyeball tool. I found the one I was looking for first try, and I might just move that in a little bit. Okay. What else do we have? We have some bacon, some Canadian bacon. Let's put some Canadian bacon on this. I'm going to copy that and paste the Canadian bacon in. Use the magic eraser tool. I'll label it. I'll bring it to the top and label it Can Bacon. And I'll shrink it up a little bit. And we can put some Canadian bacon on this. I'll hit Command J, bring a piece over here, Command J, and another piece. And I could cut one of those in half if I wanted, and then move it around. I could spin it a little bit, Command J the half piece, and label that. Okay. So we've done most of these images and had pretty good success. The remainder of the assignment asks you to add 4 more toppings, at least 5 of each. Add a napkin or a towel, add a pizza cutter, another utensil, a large drink at the table, and another item of your choice. Let's do a couple of these just to show what a good search for this particular exercise would be. Let's put a glass of milk on the table. So notice what happens when we type in glass of milk. We get a bunch of milk, images of milk, but it's from the side view. And let's just take one and let's copy that image and let's go to our pizza and let's paste it in. And we could use the magic eraser tool to get rid of the edges, and we're going to have to adjust tolerance. I'll bring it down. And even more, this may be one of those images that's really tricky to manage. I could get my regular eraser tool and maybe kind of trim this up, get this glass of milk. Let's go get another one. Here's one. We should be able to use magic eraser on this pretty easily. I'll paste it in, and this happens. This is a good example of bringing in an image that's, it's a side view. We'll deal with that in a minute. And it's larger than our actual canvas to begin with. What to do when this happens? What to do when you bring in an image like this glass of milk that's very large? In fact, this glass of milk is larger than our whole pizza. Let's assume we wanted to use it. I'm going to hold or get the zoom tool and hold the option key and zoom way out. Notice how far out I'm zooming. I'm at like 12%. This will allow me to free transform this very easily. I'll hit Command T, go to a corner, and I can shrink this down to something more manageable. I'll hit the move tool to accept it, and now I can zoom back in. It's much easier to do what we just did when you're zoomed out. Otherwise, you're going to just be able to zoom out or free transform a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. This allowed us to do it quick and easy. The second thing I want to show you about this image, that doesn't make it a bad image, but for this exercise, the fact that it's a side view does. Let's get the magic eraser tool around the edges here. The tolerance is low. Let's go 50. Okay, so let's kind of be happy with that. And let's set it over here on the table. Now, it kind of looks okay, but really what we should be doing is keeping with the idea of viewing everything on this pizza exercise from the top. So I'm going to hit the delete key and delete that. I'm going to go to my Google search and I'm just going to change it to say glass of milk top view. And here we go. Here we have what we're looking for. We have a top view that's in the theme of this exercise. We could click any one, really. I'll copy that image. I'll zoom out a little bit just in case it's big. I mean, it's okay size. I can zoom back in, use my magic eraser tool. My tolerance is too high here. I'll bring it down to 20. That's pretty good. Maybe 30 would be better. No. Let's go 15. And sometimes what we do when we get what we want, for the most part, we can get our regular eraser tool back out and just manage this by eye. Step backward if we erase too much. It's good to let go of the mouse in between edits. The more you let go of the mouse, the easier it is to step backward in little steps. And I could also get my magic eraser and let's see what happens if I click that edge. Good. I'll zoom out and I will grab that milk, put over here, maybe free transform it slightly smaller, and I'll label that milk. We could continue this exercise by adding a pizza cutter, some napkins, some additional toppings, but I'll leave that part of the exercise for you. We've covered a number of things. We've created layers and labeled them and duplicated them. We free transformed the layers. We used the zoom tool to zoom in and out. When we have a large layer, we need to zoom out and free transform it before editing it. We changed the size of objects. We used different eraser tools, and we even rotated images and turned them on and off. All of these things were helpful in creating this pizza, and I hope they help you understand layers and how they work a little better. That's it for now. I'll see you in the next one.